Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum. And today's edition of five influential horror movies, we have Jen, who is a horror author and a booktuber that I recently met on Twitter. And she's going to walk us through her top five influential horror and why she picked them. So we'll start with your first one, which was Nightbreed, 1990.
Right. So I find that Nightbreed, first of all, is a movie that a lot of people have not seen.
Yeah.
The reason why I like this movie is, it's from the early 90s. So, back then there wasn't the best effects,
Sure.
but most of it was done in makeup. So, and the makeup was really good. But what I liked most about this one is that the monsters are the good guys.
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
They're really gross, like especially that one guy in the hospital where he like cuts his own face off and stuff, right? It's kind of gross. But the monsters are the good guys. And I think this is one of the first movies that I have ever seen where they portray the people as being the monsters and the monsters as being like, the good element. And all they wanted to do was stay in their little world.
And just live their lives.
Right.
Yeah.
But,
no, I like that too.
Right. So, Nightbreed is based on a book, right?
I didn't know that. No, I didn't.
Yes. Nightbreed is based on a book called Cabal by Clive Barker.
Oh, okay. So I've heard, so when I rewatched this one and one other one that you had sent me. And I remember thinking when I rewatched it, I was like, why does that name sound familiar? Like outside of Nightbreed. That makes sense. So I didn't know that. I knew it sounded familiar. So I guess I've heard of it. But I didn't make the connection. Okay.
It's not like it's its own story, but it's not, it's in a book of like shorter stories. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I gotcha. Okay. I like this one a lot. So my first movie where I felt like the monster was a good guy was actually like, I feel like Creature from the Black Lagoon is kind of like that.
Yeah.
But I think it's like, that was one that I saw, much later in life, probably because it is so old. And when I was younger, I was like, I'm not watching that. It's black and white and boring and whatever. So I really like that concept as well too, because I like anything that kind of explores humanity as this like negative thing, as far as the way that humanity kind of looks at the world. And it's like, there's that part where she says, anything that we envy, we try to destroy. And it's kind of similar with like anything that we don't understand, we want to ruin or get rid of because it's just too much for us to process. So I really like that part as well. And I really liked that the doctor was kind of our villain as far as the main, the main like antagonist. I really like that element as well. And I'm with you. I actually prefer practical effects. Things that use practical effects even now tend to be things that I appreciate a lot more because so much more went into making them what they were. And for that time frame, and for there to be so many different types of monsters too, you're not talking about like the same monster over and over and over again. Like you see so many different ones. And I really like that too. I think they did a really good job with all of the effects for the monsters for sure. I like that a lot. All right. So your second one is Phantasm, 1979.
When I was a kid, Phantasm used to scare the crap out of me, but for the dumbest reason. So, okay, obviously I was a little kid and, everything is extra scary when you're little, but there's a part where those little people, whatever they were coming out of the mirror in the kids' room, like towards the end.
Yeah.
After that, even to this day, I'm like, nope, there's no mirrors in my room.
Mirrors are scary in general. No, they were probably the creepiest part for me too. Even rewatching it to prepare for this conversation, there were parts with them where I was like, oh, that's still really creepy. And the parts where like you can't see them at first and you can just kind of see like the outline. And I think it's because there's no like distinct features.
Right.
It's just these like hooded little short. Those are definitely the creepiest part to me too, I think actually. Yeah, that's a good one.
I think this was one of the first movies that I've seen where it wasn't fully explained what the bad guy was. You know what I mean? Like he just is. And I grew up in the 80s, so I used to watch all those, crappy 80s horror movies, but they always had backstory, like Pumpkinhead. I used to love
I love
Pumpkinhead when I was little.
Yeah.
But this was the first one where it's like the guy is just there and nobody really knows like what he is. He's just creepy.
And I think it's interesting because you really don't know anything at all really. It takes a really long time storyline wise for you to kind of get to I guess like the point. And then when I felt like when you got to the point where it starts showing the other world and it talks about those creatures being slaves, and like it's like I felt like it was a huge change of pace, but for some reason it also kind of made sense. I think it's just because the way the movie is made in general is kind of out there. So I feel like adding that craziness towards the end really didn't make it any more cohesive. It just kind of made it even further out there, which I actually didn't mind. And I had seen I watched one of the episodes of this newer season of Creep Show, and there's an episode where they had like this couple that owned like a horror shop, and they had all these like crazy things from like horror movies from over the years, and they had the ball. And I was like, I remember watching the episode of Creep Show and I was like, why can I not remember what that's from? And then when I rewatched it the other day, I was like, how could I forget how that iconic thing of like drill? I don't know how I forgot that, but I just remember seeing it and being like, I know that from somewhere. But that movie I liked it. I think one of my things about it is it kind of reminds, so I like, one of my older favorites is like, I really like The Lost Boys, but I really like stories in general that have to do with like sibling relationships in general. Like, and this was one of those ones like that, where it's, it's about the brothers and the younger one being so worried about the older one leaving him, and just like about their connection and stuff. And I remember thinking, like, I don't know that I thought about this probably the first time I watched it, but definitely rewatching it, I remember getting so invested in that and then literally forgetting about the way that the movie ends and being like, oh no, like I felt so let down all over again about the fact that like that none of that was supposed to be real. And it's like this question of like, did he really dream it? Did he not really dream it? But I really like that dynamic of the brothers throughout that whole movie. I thought was really, really good.
I think this is also one of those movies that you watch it in the 80s and you're like, oh, it's so scary, but you watch it now and it's like, oh my God, it's a little bit cringy. You know what I mean?
No, it is. It's one of the ones that like, the only reason I think it still would stand out is maybe only to someone who already had the previous experience of watching it before. I feel like if you were like someone who had never seen it before and you watch it in 2021, you're gonna be like, this is the worst movie I've ever seen. It's full of cheese and like things that don't make sense. And yeah, no, for sure. I agree.
Yeah, definitely did not hold up the best. But it's from 1979. So I mean, for the times it was good.
Yeah, no, and it was. There's a lot of older horror that's like that. I feel like most of the ones that age well for us are really only age well for us because we already have that like investment. Like we have a memory about watching it or being scared of it or something associated with it that makes it meaningful. And then that makes it, you're like, no, it's still really good. I don't know what you're talking about.
Right. But then they remake them and you're like, that's just garbage. Like the Evil Dead movie, the remake was horrible.
Yeah, so I had somebody tell me once that that it wasn't supposed to be a remake, and I'm thinking, so I finally I was like, I'm gonna look into that because I feel like it was supposed to be a remake, but it technically wasn't. It's supposed to be like an additional story, but it feels like a remake. I don't know. It's so weird. I like I think some things are definitely left. I know when they started talking about redoing The Exorcist, which is one of my favorites, they like the day they announced it, there was a petition made. Like there were so many people pissed and like, you can't make this, like you cannot touch this movie. You have to leave it alone. And then you said you liked Pumpkinhead. So there's stuff talking about that being remade. And it's just like it's like, I don't know. I just, some things are better left undone. Very, very rarely do they take things that are like, that have like a cult following, redo them, and then people just love them the same. Like it always ends up being a waste of time.
That was horrible.
Yeah. yes, it was, that one was pretty bad.
I think especially with Fright Night. So Fright Night comes from that whole era of the horror with the campiness where it's funny, but like unintentionally funny. But now when they remake it, you can't really like remake that 80s campiness. It's just not there.
It becomes cringy. It just makes people go, oh, why did I agree to watch this? Yeah, that was one I wasn't going to pay to see. I think I don't know. I probably saw it if it was streaming somewhere, maybe a Redbox thing or something, because that was one I was not interested in being ruined. And I was on the fence about seeing Poltergeist for the same reason, but I didn't really like that remake either.
Yeah.
I loved the first one. I mean, the first one's like my first memory of life. So I love Poltergeist. I have a lot of respect for that franchise and the things that they went through, especially for when the little girl died in real life and all of that. But I think that like, yeah, some things are just better left like just leave them alone.
Right. There's so many other things they could remake or like books make into movies, and they just pick the worst. I think they make the worst decisions, like the movies that just need to be left alone.
It feels like a cash grab sometimes to me too. It's like, oh, this was so successful and this has such a cult following. It'll be so easy to make money off of this. And then it's like, no, everyone hates it. Now everyone's mad at you because you ruined something that was meaningful for so many people.
I think the worst one is when they remade, or I don't even know if they want to call it a remake, the Freddy movie, and it wasn't Robert Englund. It was Casey from the Bad News Bears.
Oh, yeah.
That should not have been done. Like Freddy, I know Freddy's on my list. So Freddy is Robert Englund. Like there's no, that's just what it is. Just like Pinhead is Doug Bradley.
Yeah.
And so they remade it with somebody else. No good.
Yeah, that's true. I did like I don't know if I talked about this on a video or if it was just something I learned randomly. I didn't know until not that long ago that Pinhead didn't have a name until the third movie. He was just lead Cenobite for like for like the first couple movies. And I don't know why, I guess probably because I didn't see them again until after. I didn't see them for the first time until there was already a couple of them. So I didn't know that. And I thought, dang, that's actually really interesting. I hadn't really thought about that, but it's because that was what people started to call him. That was what he became known as, right?
Well, if you look on the credits too, all of the other Cenobites have names except for the female.
Oh, I don't think I noticed that.
She's female Cenobite. That's it. She never got a name.
Oh, I don't think I noticed that. Ooh, that's cringy. Well, and now Pinhead's going to be female, which I guess is going back to source material. That's what I've heard. I'm not familiar with it from like a reading standpoint, but
yes. So the book is A Hellbound Heart, and I read the book too.
Right.
I mean, Hellraiser is number 3, so
yeah, might as well go.
You want to jump right there? But yeah, Hellraiser is Hellbound Heart by Clive Barker, and in the book, they do meet a female Cenobite. I always liked the Cenobites. I don't know why. They were my favorite part of the movie. Like even the books. So even after the Hellbound Heart, there is the Scarlet Gospels, which explains more. I don't know if you read it or not, but it explains exactly what Pinhead is. So he is a hell priest. He's like, he doesn't like to be called Pinhead. He's the hell priest or whatever.
Right. Okay.
But it's like they have this whole following of different kinds of Cenobites that were once people.
Right.
But I always liked them. And for some reason, I never thought of them as like bad guys. You know what I mean? Even though they're like chains coming out, ripping people's faces off.
No. Yeah. No, I do. I know exactly what you mean.
I always felt like there was something about them that was almost like beautiful. Like I just like the fact that there's such a fine line sometimes between like pleasure and pain. And I think that's the point of the Cenobites.
It is.
But obviously they take it to the extreme.
Sure.
This is like one of the first horror movies that I watched like over and over again. And all of them, even though they got super stupid, but
yeah, but
he is, I think Doug Bradley is one of those actors where if it's not him, it's not Pinhead.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen the latest one where it's somebody else. It's not good.
I have not seen, no, I've only, that one came out in what, like the last couple years, right?
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen it. And that, I don't know if that's really why so much as they really did get kind of dumb, but I've seen all of the other ones. I had like a thing where I was like, I'm going to watch all of these. And that's all I did for like a couple of nights in a row was watch them all the way through. That was before that newest one came out. So no, I haven't. And I know like my biggest concern with the concept of a female is I worry about, I worry about the content becoming way too, I guess we'll say sexual. It's not exactly what I mean, but kind of like I'm all about like, you know, feminine sexuality being this thing of like power. And like, I'm fine with all of that, but I worry about it going in a not so great direction because of that. And I'm really hoping that like, that's not what happens because I don't feel like that's the purpose of what Pinhead is supposed to be, female or not. Like, I don't think that that should be like, I don't know. I am a little worried about that part as far as what they're going to do with it, just because like I've already seen the fan art and stuff. And obviously that's not exactly what it's going to like in the movie, but it kind of concerns me a little bit.
It's weird because I don't know. I think after the third movie is when they kind of like went downhill.
Yeah.
But
I might agree with that.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about a female.
Yeah.
Just because I think Pinhead is Pinhead.
Yeah.
If they made a Cenobite that was something different,
yeah,
if he was whatever, then that's fine. Because when you go into like their world or whatever, they're all different. There's not like 5 Pinheads. Do you know what I mean?
Right. No, I know what you're saying. Yeah, they're all unique based on whatever their background or their story is. Yeah. And I think I'm kind of with you on the, like, I don't think I necessarily saw them as bad guys either. I think they just sort of like, is probably one of the first movies I can remember watching where I was like on the side of what was supposed to be the bad guys. Like, because I agree with the concept of them being like beautiful. I think that they represent something very specific and very deep. You know, it's not just as simple as like a gory movie or something that just is bloody and chaotic for the sake of being bloody and chaotic. And I think that message is really clear, even from the first movie. And I think the first movie did it best, as far as, like you said, kind of it's trying to get across that point of like the difference between the concept of pleasure and pain and all of those things that they bring in with the themes. I think is best done in the first one. But I that was probably the first one that I felt that way about, as far as being like, yeah, the humans kind of suck. Like, I'm not really.
Yeah, especially because they have to call him.
Yes.
And besides whatever her name was, I can't remember her name.
Yeah.
The other one, the guys that called him, the one that, got his skin ripped off, all that guy. It's like they were like depraved and they called him, you know what I mean? And it's not like when the Cenobites came out, they didn't go on a rampage. They just came for whoever and took them away. Yeah.
That's true. No, I mean, I think it just kind of, I think that's another one that I feel like they did such a good job of I guess like the aesthetic. So not just how the Cenobites look, but like everything is very grungy. Like the house, the world that these, like everything about it's like a very consistent thing, which I think as far as like aesthetics go, it kind of is interesting to think about the difference between what's supposed to be like our world and their world, but how consistent the aesthetic is between the two. It's like, it's just kind of interesting to me how like they were able to, like, that's just something that I think, I feel like that was probably true about the first several, as far as just making everything look a specific way to get across the storyline. I really liked that about it a lot. And I think it just helps you you become more engulfed in the story, because there's not this breakup of bright and dark, and it's all kind of grungy and dark, like all of it.
I think her name is Chrissy or Christy. Maybe it's Christy. I don't know. But I think she's in the second one too, because
she is. Yeah.
They come back for her because she called them and then she closed up the thing and they had to go back.
And yeah, she is in the second one. Yeah. That's it for the originals though, right? Because then the third one is like a whole nother.
Yeah, and then there's one, I think, when they're in space and we don't do that one. And it's weird because so you see him as Pinhead and he's so like, you would think he would be mean. He's so nice.
He is nice. He's just kind of, that's true. That's true. Let's see. Nightmare on Elm Street. That was perfect.
Right. Okay. So I like all of the movies to a point. I don't like when they started changing him, and I think it was a New Nightmare when they started changing his face. The one where Nancy was the actress of Nancy. Do you know what I mean? I didn't like that. I mean, I watched them all, but that's where I was like, That's where they kind of fell off for me. But in the beginning, in the original Nightmare on Elm Street, so they came out in 1984. I was little. But when I started watching these, I think one of the reasons my dumb ass could watch them as a kid was because I was like, hey, Freddy doesn't kill kids. He only kills teenagers. Teenagers, so I'm safe.
I've got time.
Right.
That's perfect. That sounds like kid logic. I've had similar things that, that's funny. Yeah. So what was like your, so other than like, I mean, I think you kind of touched on, you obviously like really appreciate Robert Englund's role, but like, what was it specifically about Nightmare that is just one that sticks out to you?
Well, first, It's funny. Definitely the humor comes through. And
Oh yeah,
in a lot of movies with monsters or bad guys like that, there's no humor. They're just like
super
slashers, kill
serious.
them, we're done. You know what I mean? But
Sure.
he is funny. They get pretty funny in some points.
Yeah, they do.
With the whole franchise though, I really appreciated how they made like a whole mythos behind him and having him be like the dream demon and having the daughter later on, um
Mhm.
and really like having like a well-rounded story behind him, which I don't think a lot of these other ones have. Like for example, I hate the Jason movies,
Yeah,
and my biggest thing with that is like he died as a kid but he came back as a full-grown adult,
a very large adult. Yeah,
and I hate that. But with
yeah,
Freddy, it's like exactly, he was such a horrible serial killer. He was a Springwood slasher. And then
right.
when they burned him, the dream demons came to him and were
Yes,
like, hey, keep going.
there's
You
a
know what I
reason.
mean?
Yeah, no, I follow.
And the reason why he can
Yeah.
keep coming back is because he's a dream demon. So all he needs is people to believe in him and he comes back.
Yeah, it's a pretty it's an easy story that makes sense, but there's still those moments of depth, and there's things like I remember it's funny because I'm thinking about, I have everybody's list of all the people that I'm going to talk to, and not a single Friday the 13th movie is on any of them.
You're horrible. He
I
dies
was
a
just
million times.
I know. I liked the first one. I like the
Mhm.
concept of the mother coming back and being like,
Yeah.
you to the teenagers. Like I get all of that. But when they added, I think like the supernatural element to it, it was
Right.
a little too late for that.
Right. Right.
It's kind of like, oh, we did really well with this. It's like the cash grab thing all over again. It's like we did really
Mhm.
well with this. Let's just keep it moving, and I think now I will say out of all of the ones that as far as like those types, like I actually really do like the Halloween movies, but it's the same thing.
It is.
It's a very shallow storyline with
Right.
a lot of things that just don't make any sense. So you're right. No, I like the story. I think when it comes to comedy and horror, it's such a hard line. It's such a hard thing to balance. And it's like you talked about, like with the remake
Mhm.
of Fright Night, how it tries to be funny and it's just awkward and uncomfortable for the
Right.
viewer and not in a productive way. And but Freddy is funny. Like everyone just gets it. Like it's just one of those things where it just flowed. The comedy was part of it, and it wasn't. I guess
It was a forced. Yeah.
yes, yeah, exactly. And it didn't break up any of the moments that it happened in. It wasn't like I don't know what's the word I'm thinking of. It just felt very like a very normal, smooth flow of things when it happened. It didn't just like break you out of it or make you feel like, what the hell? Why is he trying to be funny? No, I agree. I think, and Robert Englund's personality, I don't know that there could have ever been anybody else that could have done both. The scary, crazy, dark, and then the funny. Like I just don't know that anybody else could have done that well.
Right. And it's proven because they made the other one with the other guy. I don't know what his real name is, but he was Casey from the Bad News
Jackie,
Bears.
Jackie, something.
But it was no good. But
Yeah, that one. So I do like that one. However, hear me out. I don't like it as a comparison of a remake. I just kind of
right.
liked him as this villainesque role. Like I think some of his like one-liners were really well done, but they weren't Freddy one-liners. They were just like this like sadistic, like
Yeah.
there's a part where he says like the thing about the brain. He's like, the brain keeps going after the heart stops. He's like, that means we have X amount of minutes to have more fun or something like that. And I'm like, oh my God, it makes me so uncomfortable. Like I felt like the writing for some of those pieces was really well done as like a not Freddy movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I know what you mean. It was not, it's not the Freddy we love and respect. That's for sure. Definitely not.
So, I really, really do like the Nightmare on Elm Street and Freddy. And
So I think that takes us into, let's see, the last one was Candyman. Yes.
right. Yeah. So I have not seen the original Candyman. I mean, not the original Candyman, the new Candyman.
Okay.
The remake. This was one of the movies too that I could watch over and over again.
Yeah.
I loved this movie. And again, too, this is a bad guy, a monster that was created. He wasn't bad. I liked how they used his backstory to make him who he is.
Yes.
I like how they showed it instead of just like telling like, oh,
yeah,
they killed this guy and put honey on his hand and the bees get, you know what I mean?
right. It wasn't
They
just
like did like the flashback scenes and they showed it.
Yeah.
Very much had the Bloody Mary vibes,
Mm-hmm.
I like the whole thing. I like the setting of it, the characters. I thought this one all around was, I mean, I know there's more than one Candyman movie and I've seen them, not the newest one, but the other ones.
Yeah.
And I think these were the best ones. I think this was one of the first movies that I've seen where he's relatable. Like, that's why he's killing people, and I would do it too. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
no, I agree. I agree. And I think so I have seen the new one. And I won't obviously ruin it because I feel like maybe one day you'll want to see it, and I don't want to ruin it for anybody anyway, but it's I will say this, given the current climate, I think that this was probably this movie kind of like, I'll say it moved me. There are some things that it shows throughout that just like, I don't know, like it affected me emotionally in a way that I wasn't able to experience with the original one, because I think when I saw the original one, I was so young and I just didn't understand, kind of the social elements that were in it. And so, but I think one of the things that I like about the original is I actually really hated the pacing when I was a lot younger. And then, rewatching it as an adult multiple times, I actually find that that's one of the things that makes it so good is the pacing. Because it's like you said, there's not a spare of story. It's not an overly gory, over the top jump scare kind of film. It's a story. Like it has a story to tell, and it takes that proper time to build up that story and make it so that you can find relatability in the villain, and you do care about the story and you do want to know more and you're invested. And I don't know that, I mean, plenty of horror movies are capable of that, but this was one that I feel like just does it so well, because you're instantly like I was instantly invested rewatching it as an adult. And I remember thinking, God, I used to think this was so boring and so slow, but rewatching it as an older person, like I just have a new appreciation for it. I think that's one of the things that made it so good.
I think Tony Todd is really good in it too. And I can't
Oh
so
my
that's
God,
why
he
I
is.
can't imagine watching another Candyman that is not Tony Todd and being like, this is good. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I loved the music. Like, it had the creepiest music.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's in the new one either. I mean, I haven't seen it, but
Yeah. So, well, it's a continuation. So it's just a newer Candyman, because he does make an appearance. He's in it. But I will say, I think one of the things that I did like about the remake is I really appreciated the effort in the music for the same reason. Like I say all the time, music in a horror movie or a horror game like can make or break the experience, and the music in Candyman is absolutely one of those moments where you're just like, it's captivating. It's very just something that you remember about it after you've seen it. And I felt the same way about the remake. The music, I mean, I actually left talking about the music for days, I think, because I was not expecting that. I think I kind of went in thinking I was going to be disappointed. But the music in the original Candyman is good, and I think casting wise in general, they made really smart choices for pretty much everybody that they used. And and of course, like Vanessa Williams, she makes an appearance in the remake as well. But
Vanessa Williams, do you mean the Helen, the one that played Helen, the
Vanessa
blonde hair?
no, Vanessa
No.
Williams is the oh my God, I don't remember her character name. I don't remember her character name. It's like right at the tip of my freaking tongue. IMDb to the rescue.
As soon as I saw that they were remaking Candyman, I was like, no way, I am not
I
gonna watch
know.
this. It's gonna be trash.
I will say it was a very smart choice to not make it a remake, though. I think because I think for that very reason, I think she plays she plays Anne Marie. She's what is that, the friend, the one that meets her
Yeah.
yeah, so she makes an appearance in the new one, and the stories from the original and this one connect. I don't know, I thought it was really well done. You make your own judgment if you ever want to watch it, but it's but yeah, I think that casting wise, that's I don't know, I feel like there's so many pieces that make things really really good or really bad, and I feel like Candyman really got all of it right. The music, the pacing, the everything about the atmosphere when she goes into the green, like every second from the beginning of the movie to the end is just really well done. Like I don't feel like there's very many flaws. And I don't know, I remember really liking that, seeing it again as an adult, like just going back and watching it. I felt the same way about, what was the other one, Alien. Like the first time I saw Alien, I was like, this is so boring. There's like nothing that happens for the first hour of that movie. But seeing it in a wider lens as an adult, like you have an appreciation for what the point of that is. Like there's a reason that it's not like that. And yeah, Candyman did that, executed that really, really well. I like that one. That's a really good one.
The feel of Candyman, I know these are two completely different movies, but like the atmosphericness, the feel of Candyman reminds me of The Crow.
Yeah, I can see that. Where you almost feel like you're in just like a dystopian world, but you're not. Like it's like
right. It's like there's so much dread in everything.
Yes, yes. Everything is like dark and dank. Yeah, that's true. I can see that. Yeah. It's not really a very happy movie. I feel like it, and it's as heavy as it is, like it's interesting to think about its relatability now, like as far as like talking about like horror movies that hold up well.
Right.
Candyman is probably definitely on that list. I don't feel like that one lost anything
No,
over the
yeah.
years. I feel like even people from the newer generation, like if they go back and watch that, I feel like it would still have an impact in some way. It held up pretty well, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Some of the other ones, I watched the other ones, not so good.
Not so much. Yeah. That happens when they make more than one of something. It's like certain ones, it's like you just, I don't know. I think I give up hope after a while, and that's why I keep watching them anyway. That's what happens with like the Halloween movies are just exactly like that. Like I just keep watching them anyway, but I don't think I go in with very high expectations.
Oh man, no. I don't even know I watched, like I am not a fan of Michael Myers. I don't even know, but I saw it and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna watch it. And then I was like, why did I watch this?
I know. And it's funny because like everybody was on the socials about it, like right after it came out. And it was so funny because you like there's like a divide. So many people hated it and were so upset about it, had all these things they didn't like. And then there was the other side that was like, I don't know why you guys are mad. I thought it was good. It's just funny to see the different reasons that people like or didn't like it. But I think the main reason that people liked it is because it was funny. Like it was just like this entertaining thing that was not necessarily, I don't know. I think a lot of people seem to be pretty responsive to the new Candyman, but I will say if you do get around to watching it, definitely watch through the credits because there's some puppet scenes at the end that just left me kind of like, I don't know. I was very emotional when I left this movie. It really, for some reason, it just really hit me. Like, I don't know. It was really good. But yeah, Candyman is a good one. Well, I appreciate you talking to me about movies.
No one ever talks to me about movies. My husband hates horror. Like my husband he will not watch any scary movies at all.
Really? So my husband, when we first started dating, we like our first date by ourselves, because when I first met him, I didn't really like him that much. And we was in groups. So anything that we watched, people always talk through, which is like, as someone who loves movies, horror or not, that irritates me so bad. So I would just be like, okay, well, I'm not gonna put anything on because we're gonna talk. But anyway, the first time that we hung out, just the two of us, we watched Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. And like that was like the first horror anything that he had like watched in a really long time. So he's a little more up to date with some horror now, but he doesn't have the patience to watch old horror. So like he had never seen the original Halloween. Like I just showed him that like 3 years ago because randomly I was like, oh, we should watch Halloween on Halloween. That's clever. Everybody does that, you know? And I was like, I haven't seen it in a while. And he was like, I've actually never seen that. And I was like, are you kidding? He is younger than me, but I'm like, damn, you're not that much younger than me. But anyway, I digress. But he's not super into horror like that. And he definitely won't watch older stuff or obscure stuff. It has to be very like mainstream. Like he'll see the new Resident Evil, but like, you know, he won't see like he definitely wouldn't have sat through Hereditary. I watched that one on my own. And there have been a few movies we've stopped because like he couldn't get through them. And I was like, I guess I'll have to finish this by myself. But yeah, I try to talk to people. I don't have a lot of people in my life that like horror. My dad does sometimes, but he's more of like a sci-fi person. And then like, it's kind of funny. So I get nervous about like putting myself out there because my channel's still really new. And I don't know, like I just get really nervous that like I'm going to be rejected or nobody's going to interact with me. So when I first tweeted that like I would love to do more of these videos, more of these conversations, I was in so much dread that like I wasn't even going to get like a like on it. And then I got like a lot more than I bargained for because Joshua shared it. And so then when
Mhm.
he retweeted it, I started getting interest to the point that I literally had to say, like, I can't do anymore because it was supposed to just
Yeah.
be for one episode. And now it's 11, which is great. I'm not complaining at all. But this is like my first real opportunity, even meeting other people to talk to about horror. And it's really been, man, I'm loving it. Like some people, like the girl that there's another girl that I just did a video with, like I'll randomly get like a message from her on Twitter. She's like, oh, by the way, have you seen this one? And like, I love that. Like I could talk about movie ideas and movies I've loved. And I love seeing stuff I haven't seen before. It's interesting. I like it a lot. A lot. It's good to not be alone in the hobby of interest.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that watches horror movies. My husband, but he will just leave the room. He won't even
Dang.
try. He's like, nah, I'm done.
Just not his jam, huh?
No, I don't think he's ever watched any of them. He likes like the war movies, you know what I mean?
Yeah, my
Like
husband
Saving
likes
Private.
those too.
Oh,
Anything
what's it?
military, anything with a bunch of guns.
Yeah, I'm like,
Oh,
no. And he likes kung fu movies and stuff. I'm like, mm-mm.
oh yeah, no, I can't get through those. Those are a little too cheesy for me.
Yep. He what's it? Hunt for Red October is like his favorite movie, and I'm like, or Remember the Titans. I'm like, or he'll watch the same movie over and over and over again. Like, and they're okay movies like to watch once, but he'll watch like the Back to the Future movies over and over and over. And I'm like, can we, or Karate Kid? I'm like, can we not?
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Yeah, no,
Yep.
so my husband always wants to watch new stuff, but a lot of the times it's stuff that like I just am not super like I'm not interested in.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I don't have like a lot of what I would consider free time. And I tell him like I'm not willing to spend 2 hours of my life watching that. Like I could just do something else with my time. I could record, I could find some stuff I need to read. Like there's always something to do. So if I'm going to stop what I'm doing to watch something that's not genre related to content I put out, like it's got to be worth it.
Mhm.
Like I think for our anniversary next week, we're going to go see the Eternals, but I do like superheroes. I don't mind watching superhero movies.
He watches all that stuff, and then he'll be like, "Do you want to watch this?" I'm like, "No." Like when the shows come out on Disney Plus, I'm like,
Yes,
"Listen,
yes,
I will watch Loki. I will watch stuff with Thor.
yeah.
I do not give a shit about Captain America or like Bucky. Watch those on your own. I don't
Yeah, I
care."
don't care about those either. Yeah, well, I won't take up too much more of your time, I guess.
All right.
um yeah, I always I like talking to people that because it's so there's a couple people that have like the same movie on their list, but I already know that it won't matter because what they're going to say is not going to be the same. Like
Yeah.
we typically don't get the same things out of movies that we pick as like our like ones that just really hit with us or ones we really love. So I really I'm glad that this kind of blew up the way that it did because like I'm really liking my conversations and like especially because it's opened me up like all that like I've learned so much just from talking to you. Like I didn't know about the book options for different things and I didn't know there's a lot of stuff that like I didn't know. And I kind of like that's every conversation I walk away with like something new to look at or look into or watch or whatever. So like Monster Squad, that's one I'm probably going to look into, especially because you said it's like a kid one. So,
It's a
or a
fun
good
one.
introduction for kids. I think that'd be good.
There's nothing scary.
Right.
It's like the classic monsters,
Yeah.
Frankenstein and I think Swamp Thing and Dracula and the Wolf Man, but it's funny and it's not scary at all.
Yeah. Okay. I'm excited to watch it then. Maybe I'll introduce him to that tomorrow when he's running around screaming all day. That'll be fun.
I don't think there's any swearing in it either.
Okay. I'd forgotten about Little Monsters. That's a good one too. I like that one. I'll probably show him that one too. See how he reacts. Because that one's got some moments that I can see maybe being like a little, like before you actually see him and meet the monster, there's like those little like moments where he thinks he sees something, but he doesn't know what it is yet.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how it goes. Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks for making time to talk about horror though. I appreciate it. And the interest in being on the channel, of course, I always appreciate it. And I'll share when these videos go out in January, I'll share your social link and the link to your YouTube and your book on Amazon.
All right.
So it'll be in my description for people that watch the video.
All right.
Yeah. So cool. Well, thanks again. I really appreciate it. I'm so humbled by people wanting to engage with me. I'm like, oh, good. You want to talk to me. That's always good. I like that.
No, it was fun. It was it's always nice to talk to somebody with this similar interests.
Yeah, no, it is. It's funny. I wore a Pinhead shirt. You wore a Freddy shirt. I was trying to find one. I was like, I got to find a shirt relevant to like what we're talking about.
I have a Pinhead shirt too. It's not that, it's the cube. I wore it when I met Doug Bradley. I was like, I'm such a dork.
I'm sure he ate it up though. He's got to love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have 2 Pinhead shirts and I have 2 different versions of a similar Freddy shirt, but they're like one of them looks like this as part of a collection.
Mhm.
And then the other one's got like some more color in it. It's a little bit different, but I was like, no, I'm gonna go with Pinhead.
Yeah, my husband, I got this one, I think is a Dream Warriors, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have another one. They're from Walmart.
Oh yeah.
In the men's section. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Nightmare. Oh, yeah.
In the men's section. He went to Walmart and he's like, look, I got you something. I'm like, all right.
That's funny. Yeah, no, I like it. I have my t-shirt collection is getting a little out of control, but at least there's always a reason to wear them. So
yeah.
I wear them like all the time, but I have 2 collections like this that have like a bunch of them. So like this one has like Pinhead, Freddy, Jason, Michael, Chucky, Leatherface. I don't know. It's got a bunch of, I'm trying to think of who. Oh, and this one also has the Crypt Keeper from Tales from the Crypt. And I love that one too. So yeah. I was like, oh, I wear Pinhead today. I also have, is this still behind me? Let's see. It is. So I also have this thing that I'm dying to like find somewhere to put.
Nice.
But I don't have anywhere to put it yet. See all the chaos behind me. Good grief. I don't have anywhere to put it yet, but one day I'm gonna have somewhere to put it. It's gonna be awesome.
It's gonna be awesome one day.
Yes. And one day I'm gonna have it up. You'll know because I'll share it. I'll be like, look, I finally got this picture. Okay. Well, enjoy the rest of your night and your weekend.
Thanks. My kids are up still, so they're probably waiting for me to get off and be like, bedtime.
Go to bed. Yeah. Mine goes to bed at like 7:15. Sometimes it depends on his mood, but most of the time I try to like be really strict with them being so little because I know he'll get to a point where I won't be able to.
It's so much easier if you do, because my kids, when they're school, they go to bed at 8.
Yeah.
And when it's a weekend, they go to bed at 9.
Uh-huh.
And there's no problem. There's no fighting. They just, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because they're used to it being a routine.
But now that, I'm doing this, they're going to be like, oh, mommy, I didn't know.
Oh, right. Oh, it's after 9 o'clock. Yeah.
No one told me.
All right, cool. Well, maybe we'll do this again in the future and we can pick some different movies to talk about. I'm going to have to redo my list. The more people I talk to, I'm like, man, my list sucks. I'm going to have to redo it. Because I'm just thinking about like, I think I was focused on the wrong thing when I did my original list. And I think it's like just hearing other people like talking about movies that like why they got on their list, it kind of just makes me rethink all of mine. So I'm probably gonna have to do a new one eventually.
There's a lot to choose from.
God, there is. And trying to pick ones that are like, I don't know, different in the sense of like, I wouldn't want to do one that was like all slashers. I wouldn't want to do one that's all like, and like trying to make sure that they're different enough, I think was like the hardest thing. And so what I ended up doing was, without meaning to, was I ended up just picking ones that started my interest in genres instead of like, subgenres, instead of ones that like hit me for other reasons. Like the girl that I talked to last week, she's worked in Dispatch. So one of her movies was Unhinged. That's about road rage. And she was talking about like, basically like that one stuck with her because she's gotten those calls before. And I was like, that's interesting. Like, it's just interesting to hear like the different things. And I'm like, I think I just picked all the wrong movies for I'm gonna have to go back. So one day I will. Okay. Well, I guess go wrangle up your kids. It's not too bad. It's what, 9:30? Yeah, 9:34.
Yeah, they're playing Mortal Kombat.
Oh, okay. Well, once they die, then it's bedtime.
The worst part is they'll be like, oh, do you want to play IRL? And they're like hitting each other. I'm like, dude, stop.
IRL in real life. Yeah. That's hysterical.
That's how they ask each other to play a game IRL. They don't just be like, you want to play? It's always like, you want to play IRL? I'm like, Jesus Christ.
That's really funny. I don't think I've ever heard that before. That's funny. All right, cool. Well, these videos will go out in January. So whenever it goes live, I'll message you a link to it so that you'll have it. And yeah, thanks again for talking to me. I appreciate it. It was a good conversation. I had seen all of those movies, which I think was the first list, maybe like that. And then I started getting more that I had seen all of, but some of the first couple ones I got were like really obscure. And I was like, I have no idea what any of these movies are. So that was kind of nice going back to some roots.
Yeah.
Some stuff I was comfortable with that I knew about that I like had an opinion on. Yeah. So, but good choices nonetheless. I liked all of those. So cool. Well, thanks again. Have a good night.
Thanks, you too.
See you later.
Bye.
Hey guys, thanks a lot for hanging out watching our top 5 influential horror movies. I'm really enjoying doing these episodes. They are a lot of fun, and I am really enjoying the interactions I'm having with other people in the horror community. So I hope you are enjoying watching them as much as I am having them. These episodes will be also listed on our podcast, which will be in the description below. And you can go there to listen to the full episode without the cuts that we had to make for time references for YouTube. And yeah, make sure you circle back. There's going to be 11 episodes total. So make sure you're caught up on all of the ones before and after. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week and enjoy your weekend. We will see you in the next one.